You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
All right, welcome to another 3 Mile Pod. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that we got a special guest with us that a lot of you K-State fans would have seen playing for several years at Kansas State. Former Kansas State point guard Clent Stewart has joined us. Clent's actually so gracious, he's jumped on in between flights at an airport to talk about the big news of Tuesday with his player, David Castillo, committing to Kansas State. Number 12 player in the country, according to ESPN. Consensus, number 27 player in the country. The 4th best ranked recruit in Kansas State history, according to the 24/7 composite. And Clent Stewart is the head coach of Bartlesville High, the home of David Castillo. So, Clent, thanks so much for jumping on with us, man. Appreciate the heck out of you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm ecstatic and just happy for David and what's to come.
So take me through yesterday. What was that moment like when you heard him announce for Kansas State and the emotions? I know that's a guy that you've been around. You mentioned that you've been in Bartlesville since the age of 2 or 3 when David was 2 or 3 years old. So what was that a moment like for you from an emotional standpoint?
It's kind of surreal, and just knowing David, knowing when he was young, we knew he was going to have an opportunity to play at the next level. Obviously, it's hard to really come up with how good he's going to be, and just kind of seeing him develop over the years and all the hard work that he's put in to get to the opportunity to be able to choose a school, and then obviously to choose Kansas State University. It was surreal. I mean, when I hugged him, I had tears in my eyes just thinking about all the days he's been in the gym, just working on his game on his own. Just everything he's put into it to get to that moment. I know it's one of his goals that he's had since he was a really, really young child, and finally to be here, going to be a Wildcat is pretty special.
When did you find out he was going to go to K-State? Did he talk to you over the last couple of weeks and tell you that was going to be the choice, and you just had to keep it quiet, or what was that timeline like?
So interesting enough, I told him I didn't want to know, and I know he had some good schools in the running, and I have good rapport with all those coaches as well. So I wanted to help guide him as far as, pros and cons of what might be best, for him personally. But it was really, through some of the conversations we had, I had a feeling it was K-State, just through our conversations, but he never gave me this is what it's going to be. And so I found out the day before, he announced it to everybody. It's pretty special. It's a special moment.
When did you think K-State had a realistic shot to land David? I mean, I know, so Derek Young, who we do the podcast with, is the publisher and editor at On3, and he said that, when Jerome Tang took over, the staff was kind of playing catch-up. Obviously, new staff had to build that relationship quickly. When did you think they really had a shot to get him?
The first time they came to Bartlesville, and so we're sitting in our field house, and then they arrive at a little bit before 10 p.m., I believe, and we're standing at our field house for about an hour and a half. It's me, David, his dad, his brother, I think his mom as well, and we're just talking to Coach Tang and his whole staff, and that was my first time, meeting Tang and his staff, and obviously David's first time, but you could feel the energy, the genuineness, and what I saw, when we got done and just talking to David about it, it was like, that was pretty cool. Like, that was amazing, right? Just not even knowing who Tang was, coming in and just feeling like, okay, this guy is real. Like, it's going to be fun to play for. And they told us back then, Tang said, we're going to win this year. And the C-Tang put that into fruition, with obviously Noel and Kelte Johnson, the whole team. I think it just really sold Dave, man. He sold on what Tang believes in, and so, I knew right then and there, they had a chance. And then, obviously throughout this year that they've done a really good job recruiting him and showing him what he can be within their system. And he sees a good fit.
I mean, you were a point guard. Kind of give us the scouting report for K-State fans that haven't seen David play. What type of player are they getting? What's his game like?
Yeah, I mean, he can score the basketball from, 6'1". He can really handle the basketball, get to his spots, can shoot it really well. But he's also really good at making his teammates better, as a point guard. And I think, I've always likened him to a kid that the better players that are around him, the better he becomes because, one, he's able to play more in space and able to create a little bit easier. And then, like I said, he also can shoot it from outside or create his own shot. So he's a great basketball talent, a very smart kid, high IQ, but most importantly, man, he's a great person, and that's what I love about him. And I know that's what Tang, recruiting him. He wants to recruit guys that are great people, and so that's what K-State is getting, and we're going to follow.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, Clent, because I wanted to ask you about him as a person off the court. Because I have some friends that lived in Bartlesville for several years, so I've made some trips down to hang out with them. And the first text I got yesterday when David had committed was from a friend that worked at the school district at one point and knew David pretty well, and just didn't say anything about his on the court abilities, just said he's just one amazing kid and comes from a terrific family. So maybe just expand upon the type of kid that you've not gotten to know through the years and coached.
Yeah, I mean, he's so humble, and that's what has been amazing. We think about the things that he has accomplished as a 2-time gold medalist. Now he's Bartlesville all-time leading scorer in 3 years. He's a humble kid, and I remember when he was a freshman, transitioned from 8th grade into his freshman year, and I knew right then if he was an 8th grader, he probably would have started for us as an 8th grader if we could have started him. But I knew as coming in as a freshman, he was going to be our starting point guard. And, the conversation wasn't, hey, well, I expect to be here. It was, are you sure? Like, you want me to start and be the point guard, have the ball in my hands? It was like, yeah, you're that good. But he's so humble, individual. He's a kid that, you'll see will interact with the fans. And like I said, that's why they're going to fall in love with him. He loves people. And he's going to try his hardest. He's going to give everything he has. But he puts in a lot of work. He believes in himself, puts in a lot of work to get there. And I think that's what makes this decision now for him, as far as knowing he's going to go to K-State. He now can just focus in on the things that he loves to do, which is staying in the gym and getting better and developing every single day. So, man, I'm just so happy for it.
Yeah. Circling back to his recruitment, Clent, I think most outsiders would say, well, Clent Stewart, former K-State point guard, is his coach. Obviously, maybe that would have swayed, or Clent would have, encouraged to go to K-State. But I did hear David say that you didn't push him anyway, one way or the other, and didn't have anything to do with that. So I'm just curious, how those conversations were with him throughout the recruitment and how you supported him.
Yeah, and I told him from the very beginning. I said, I'm here to support him. I've known him since he was 2 or 3 years old. I wanted to make sure that this decision was his decision and obviously not mine. And I told him multiple times, I've been through the process. I made my decision. I loved my decision. I had a great time at Kansas State, but this is his life and his journey, and I'm here to give some advice on the side and talk about, the pros and cons, and talk about, what does he see, how he can fit into each team system. But I wanted him to get the full experience and be able to make that decision. Because at the end of the day, he's the one that's going to live with it, right? I'm going to be celebrating with him, and I'm going to be right there watching him and guiding him and helping him. But it's his life, his journey, and I'm here just for the ride. So very happy.
What were some of the questions that he had for you about K-State, though? Obviously, you're somebody that can be a great informational resource from having played at K-State, spent 4 years there. What were some of the questions or things that he wanted to know from you?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is just the love he saw from the community. Is that real? Was it like that when you're like, that is what it was? That's what it is. K-State fans and community, as we call it, bleed purple, and we have a very strong fan base. I think he got to experience that firsthand this year, just watching the basketball team, also the football team, but then also the basketball team and things that they were able to accomplish. And, the following of K-State, the student section, was it like that? He's like, yeah, that's how the student, you're winning and we're good. Like when they come out, even we're not, they come out, and so it's like, this is what it is. It's a different feeling, I think, when he got there that, than what he expected, and so just trying to figure out that's how it was when you played, and so, that was pretty cool. Obviously the on the court stuff, for him, it was more so along the lines of, being a point guard, having the opportunity to have the ball in his hands, be able to make plays, and just seeing what Tang did with Marquise Noel this year, and then obviously Rodney Perry as an assistant coach, and what he's been able to do with Marquise, and also Trey Young in the past. So I think the on the court stuff, that's what sold them there. Just their background with point guards, and then a lot of the off the court questions, I could help them with.
Yeah. I think it was the Texas Tech game that David took his official visit to in Manhattan, and I was at that game, and that was a game I was worried about the crowd because it was snowing hard on our drive, and then we get in the arena and it's jam packed, and there's really not an empty seat in there, and that really speaks volumes to where this K-State fan base can be when you're playing well. A very supportive fan base, as you know, Clent. When things are obviously going well, and they have a guy that they fully embrace in Jerome Tang. Like Marquise Noel, again, you were a point guard. How blown away were you at what he did in the NCAA tournament? We were in Madison Square Garden for the Michigan State game, and then unfortunately the FAU game, but that performance was something else that he put together in the tournament, wasn't it?
Oh, it really was, and you just think about, the work that he's put in to get to where he is, and, obviously coming from Arkansas Little Rock and transferring over to Kansas State, and then, coming in with Coach Weber, and then there's a change of coaches and whole change of coaching staff, and then, you look around and it's just him and Masood. I'm sure he's kind of like, well, what's going on, right? And then to be able to come out this year and, Tang and his staff just put him in positions to excel, and him go out there and perform really well, all year. And then, of course, at the end, just the run that he got on, being able to create off the bounce, and some of his passes and assists were just crazy, and so it was a lot of fun, watching him, and especially at his height. I think that the biggest thing, he talks about heart over height, man. And he definitely has the heart. That's why he's going to do great things even beyond, Kansas State. So just really excited for him, and he bleeds purple as well.
Awesome. Hey, Clent, we're gonna toss to a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to ask you about Jerome Tang a little bit more and this coaching staff. So just hang right there. We're gonna toss to break, and we come back, we'll talk Jerome Tang a little bit.
Whether you're a Chiefs, Royals, Sporting KC, KC Current, K-State, KU, or Mizzou fan, we've got you covered. Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, Clent, we're back. So you mentioned Jerome Tang coming down, the staff coming down to Bartlesville that very first time, and the impression they left on David. What were your impressions of them initially? And as you've gotten to know them more through his recruitment and coming to games, I've seen you at a couple of the games this year. I'm sure you've had multiple conversations with the staff. What makes them so special?
Just real, man. They're real, can connect with people, players. It's just amazing, with him coming in, in 1 year and what he's been able to do. You think about having to restructure an entire team and, doing it kind of late in the transfer portal process, when he got in, and, but I think that just speaks to, his ability to put guys in the right spots, to get guys to believe in themselves. And he talks about, giving them confidence on the court. One of the best things I heard was he's hard on them in practice, but then in the games, he wants them to play and go. It's like, we don't need to be hard on them in the game. We need them playing freely, having a free mind and having fun. But I think we saw that this year with all the guys. And so it's just amazing to see what he's been able to do in year one. I know he's going to continue to do great things and take the programs to new heights. And I'm actually wearing, so it's an act of faith hat, but the faith is, the crazy faith that he talks about. So I was like, well, I got to put that hat on today as I'm traveling. And so happy for him and what he's been able to do for Kansas State.
We'll have to make sure Coach Tang and the staff sees that hat. Clent, you might need to send them a hat like that. I think they'd love that. So, yeah. No, you played obviously for some great coaches and played for Frank Martin and Bob Huggins. And I'm not asking you to compare Tang to them necessarily, but if you take me back to your high school recruiting days and when you were being recruited, how appealing would it have been if Jerome Tang came in your living room to want to play for a guy like that when he makes his pitch?
Especially as a guard, how can you say no? It's just, and that's the feeling I had when he came up and saw David for the first time, and we're standing in our field house. It's like, how can you say no? He's just so real, and obviously he has a lot of it's interesting because, you think about it, first year as a head coach, but he has a lot of experience, and obviously being with Scott Drew for 19, 20 years, and kind of his head and lead recruiter. He knows what the kids, like. He knows how to relate to them. And, I think they love playing for him as we saw this year. And so, it'd be very hard to say no. And as you see the fun that the team has, and he spearheads that, and Coach Jerome, I mean, it's a fun atmosphere to be in and to be around.
Yeah, and you look at the point guards that he was either the assistant coach for, or the head coach for this year, obviously with Noel. But the last 4 guys dating back to 2019 point guards were all first team Big 12 and all earned All-American honors. So, I mean, it's incredible.
And they've always, if you just look at Baylor, they've always had athletic big guys. They really don't throw the ball in the post, but they've had guards. I mean, back when I played against them, they had like Aaron Bruce and Curtis Geralds and Henry Dugard and Tweety Carter. Like, they love small guards that can go create and go get it, and so he has a good rapport with those guards, to help them excel, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned one guard, Curtis Geralds was a guy that was always such a pain, watching K-State games, going up against him. You and me were at college in Manhattan at the same time, Clent, and then I went on to cover the team. But yeah, they had some great guards there in Baylor. Hey, and you mentioned something that I thought was great. So Uric Malagi came on our pod this offseason or last offseason, and he said one of the great things about Tang is he's demanding, but he's not demeaning. The way he goes about it really earns the respect of his kids. They love him. He loves them off the court. And you played for a guy like that, and Frank, really. Frank obviously is a guy that, loved you guys, but could be kind of intimidating to the outsider, especially. So I thought that was really interesting. And I also think it's interesting when you watch K-State games, he's not constantly shouting out instructions during plays, but letting his guys play freely. I think that's a great observation. So
there really is, and I think it's when you think about the landscape, a lot has changed. Just college basketball, and for coaches nowadays, it's a lot different, than what it used to be in the past. And I think Tang is part of that new wave, or being able to still be hard on kids, but making sure that they know that he loves them, he's there for them, on and off the floor, but he's going to get the best out of them. I think that's what's pretty cool to see, and they love. Noel talked about it this year, how much he just loved playing for him because he could go be himself, and that's what kids are looking for. So it's really nice to have him, leading the program.
Yeah, and I think the transparency that he has with his players and the honesty, he had a great answer about Ish Masood entering the transfer portal this offseason that you may have seen, but spoke about how they just talked about what each other wanted and wanted to be upfront. Because in this day of the portal, you don't want to lie to kids. You want to be upfront and honest with them, or you get an unhappy locker room. So I appreciate that, Clent. And hey, just a couple more questions because I know you're in an airport and you're going to board a flight here in a little bit, so we'll get you out here soon. But a couple fun questions. What was your favorite memory or moment playing at K-State?
Oh man, that's to pick one, or can I have a few?
You can just name them for me. That's fine.
All right. So, definitely top 2 would be, beating KU at home my senior year. That was actually my last game that my mom was able to come to before she passed away. And so, it was January 30th, 2008. So that was a fun game. Having the opportunity to beat KU in Lawrence my sophomore year. And that's obviously the last time that we beat them in Lawrence. Was definitely a memorable moment for me. And then at the end of the game, I was popping my jersey, and there's still like a meme with that, or a gift with that. And so that's pretty cool. And then another one would be also President's Hall wine. And so, post to her the midcourt senior year, and I can't leave that one out. She might have some words to me if I did.
I was going to have to remind you of that, Clint, if just to make sure I didn't get you in any trouble if need be there. So that was senior day, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that was an awesome moment for sure. Really enjoyed the heck out of that. We went to the USC game too in the NCAA tournament. I went up to Omaha and watched you guys win that, and I'd never seen K-State win an NCAA tournament game, so that was a pretty special moment just as a K-State fan to take that in. So I mean, who's the more intimidating coach, Hugs or Frank?
Oh man, I'd have to say Uggs. But Uggs, when Uggs came in, I mean, he made it known like he wasn't gonna take any BS, man. It was his way or the highway, and But once again, that's what kind of got us turned around. And I learned so much just in that 1 year with him, especially on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, it was challenging. And I tell people this, even for shoot around, we didn't just shoot around. Okay, go shoot around, walk through plays, walk through the opponent's scout. We practiced, it was shoot around. It was practice. And we're like, we don't get hurt while we're having shoot around, And so he was intense, man, but he got the best out of us, which was a lot of fun.
Did he that Washburn game, the exhibition game? Did he run you guys ragged right before that? Is that the rumor? That game went to double overtime.
That's it. That's I'm saying. If you're not performing up to his standard, it doesn't matter if you have a game that day. It doesn't matter what's going on. He's going to make sure that he's going to get everything out of you. It might be to the detriment of the game, but he's going to get something out of you that he feels good about. So, that's what he was.
How much pride do you take in the fact that Kansas State, you were really part of the foundation of getting K-State basketball going again, part of the first NCAA tournament win, getting them right on the right track again. How much pride do you take when you look at what K-State's done in the last 15 plus years, 3 Elite Eights, a couple Big 12 championships? What does that mean to you?
It's pretty sweet, and so when Frank Martin took over for Huggins, he had a quote, of course, and I remember it was a picture of, there was Jacob Fullen, Michael Beasley, me, and Bill Walker. And there's a picture, and under that picture, there's a quote that said, "The foundation has been laid. There's no doubt in my mind that we will succeed." And I still have that. As it was one of my first, go on my Instagram. Like when I first got Instagram, that's one of my first pictures on there was that picture. And, I think that foundation was laid. Obviously, Huggins came in and laid it down, and Frank took over, and we were able to get things rolling. And then just to see, what Frank did in the time that he was there, and then obviously handing it over to Bruce, and Bruce, taking the team to Elite Eight, and now, handed over to Tang, and Tang taking the team to Elite Eight. And it's pretty amazing, as a Kansas State alum, a Kansas State fan, and following the basketball and all athletics. It's a lot of fun. And then, I have all my jerseys still, and I don't really put them up. My wife every now and then will go put on a jersey during the game and cheer on the Cats, and so it's a great feeling to know that I've been a part of tradition, and hope that things can keep rolling.
What was it like playing with Mike and Bill?
Football talent! Oh my goodness! But Mike. Mike had the the SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah,
I mean he was just a funny individual, and so. But man, it was different. When they came in, and all of a sudden I realized I could throw the ball to the top, and it was a bad pass to the top of the backboard. This is our first practice with Bill Walker. And it's an alley-oop, and there's no way anyone else could have caught it. When I threw it, I'm like, "Ooh, that's gonna be a turnover." And he jumps up, catches it, and he just lays it in. I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." This is I've never played with anyone like this before, and so it was just a lot of fun. I mean, so much athleticism on the floor with those guys, and obviously the way they compete, and we had a lot of fun playing.
Makes me think of the Oklahoma State game this year where I thought Marquise threw it out of bounds and Keontae went up with one hand and flushed it, and this blew my mind. I thought the ball was sailing out of bounds and had no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That athleticism was amazing. I didn't have that kind of
I'm 6'3" and I can't even touch the rim, Clent. So I'm not one to tie. Hey, did you think Jacob Pullen would turn into the player that he did? Obviously, you were with him for 1 year. He had some moments, but did you think that he would become K-State's all-time leading scorer?
I'll tell you what, that kid never lacked confidence. He came in and believed that he was just as good as Michael Beasley. And so I wasn't surprised at all. We knew he was going to do great things. And obviously got a chance to get on the court early as a freshman. But the biggest thing I remember, though, that I know is I was a senior, and so Frank would, we'd be in practice, and Jacob would make a mistake and turn the ball over, and Frank would just rip him. That's because he's a freshman, right? So he'd rip him. I'd go down the court and do the exact same thing and the exact same turnover, and Frank would be like, "Stu, you know what to do. You know what to do. You're a senior. You know what to do." So Jacob took all the brunt of everything I did, and I got off pretty easy on that, But he turned into just a tremendous player, and like I said, we knew he was going to be great, man, because we saw it his freshman year.
Awesome. Well, hey, Clent, I've had you on plenty long here. I apologize for keeping you on so long, but just want to say again, you're a great dude. Appreciate everything you've done for K-State. Appreciate the heck of you as a person and jumping on with us as well. So thank you so much. And I'm sure we're going to see it in Manhattan a lot with Bartlesville not being that far from Manhattan and David being here. It's going to be great to see you at some of the games. I know you were this last year as well, but I'm sure we'll see more of you the next few years.
For sure. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much, Clent. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.